Greetings, fellow villagers. Rhadamant here. Thank you for tuning in to the first episode of a new series covering Night is Coming. If you would like to skip the game's overview or the details of this series, please use YouTube chapters, and that information can be found in the description of this video as well. Night is Coming is a survival strategy game set in a world inspired by Slavic mythology and the nature of Eastern Europe. Build your settlement, protect its dwellers, teach them farming, smithing, and other necessary crafts. Explore the surrounding lands, and send your warriors to search for rare materials. Who knows what unexpected lands and what random events await you there. This series, of course, is a mix of Let's Play and tutorial. And for the first half, or really honestly the first hour about of the stream, I'll be playing through the tutorial so you can learn how to play. And then I'll be playing the first map, which is the Pinewood map, on normal difficulty, which is called Sunset. And of course, once I get through the tutorial, some of the major decisions will be left up to you. So let's jump in and get started.
Long ago, the Carpathian Mountains were home to a powerful tribe, ruled by Prince Velimir. A wise leader, he accomplished much in his time, conquered everything he set his eyes upon. It was the people's golden age. But as years in power passed, they corrupted the prince. They clouded his mind and hardened his heart. Darkness now dwelt in his soul and manifested in cruelty. As Velimir ruled over the people, a mighty warrior served in his army. As hungry on the battlefield as at the feasting table, neither endless nourishment nor the blood of his enemies could sate his hunger. Velimir admired the warrior for his strength and fervor, and made him one of his barons in charge of provisions. The new baron's gluttonous instincts devoured him. Velimir enjoyed this. When he was a child in a town under siege, he learned well what hunger is. It scarred his soul forever. And now, even as the realm was in decline, the baron threw lavish feasts for the prince. All those who dared raise a voice against this madness were brutally punished. Traitors and rebels were burned alive, their villages put to the torch. Time passed, and the burden of the prince's sins became too much to bear. He was driven to despair, and in his darkest hour, he ripped his heart from his chest. But the fate denied him death. The darkness inside him burst out, corrupting the land and everything living upon it. The prince's loyal barons have each taken a piece of his heart as trophy and turned into horrifying monstrosities, reflections of his sins. Those who were not tainted by darkness escaped to the thick forests, where they fight for their survival even now.
So that's the game's premise, that you are essentially in control of the villagers that fled from a great evil in the eastern Slavic forests. For this tutorial, I'm just going to be getting through I think it's a 27 part tutorial up there, really as fast as I can. So, the lands are filled with darkness, great chief. People are fleeing into the forest to escape Velimir's evil minions. We must help the survivors fortify the settlement before it gets dark. For the terrible night is approaching. First, I would suggest looking around to make sure this territory is safe. So you've got WSD for camera movements. You've got zoom in and out, mouse wheel, and middle mouse is pan. Now I'll help you see the world from above, through the eyes of a bird soaring in the sky. All the corners of your settlement and the forest explored by your people will come to life before you. You'll be able to see everything important and notice the danger approaching the settlement in time. So the minimap controls are down here on the bottom left. And you can change the scale with the plus and minus. And then return to the center with the home icon. You can also enable filters. So if you want to filter out, let's say, stones, you could filter out stones or filter them back in. And then the last part is the in-freeze settings, which is here, which allows you to display status warnings of like things going on. The villagers have needs, the main of which is eating. Providing the settlement with food supplies is crucially important, otherwise people will die of starvation. There are many wild berries suitable for eating in the forest. They can serve as food supplies for now, so let's collect them. The villagers can perform many tasks. You just need to tell them what to do. Send them to collect berries. So, if you hit X or this button down here, it is the collection. And then in this case, we could either do all or plants. And because we're after berries only, I'm going to do plants, and I'm going to filter off mushrooms and straw. Because collecting anything, well, we'll get into this a bit later, but basically you should limit your collection, especially early on. Increasing the brush size and decreasing the brush size is plus and minus on the keyboard. And then the game wants me to speed up time, which is Q, in order to collect 50 berries. So each bush is 10 berries. And I'm at 16 times speed up here, as you can see. Done. Great job. You should always make sure there's enough food in the settlement. I see that the altar is guarded by a couple of warriors. Unlike ordinary settlers, they are under your personal command and don't do anything without direct order. I suggest they scout the area to find new resources and make sure that no one is planning to attack the settlement. Alright, so select one warrior, or select the entire army, which would be F1. And you can see the F controls down there for command groups. Creating a fast group would be Control 1, and then you can recall it with 1. So Control 1 is fast group 1. So now if I hit 1, I can fast group like a single soldier or both soldiers or whatever else. And this is really helpful because some units heal, some units have range, some units have melee, they have different abilities, so putting them fast groups can be very handy. And it wants me to send them over here to this specified area. Also, thank you for all the love in the activity feed. Wishbringer, Rylus, Burgon, Yusuf, Super Rascal, Glitch, cheers. The warriors have found copper ore deposit. It will be useful in future for building construction. The sunset is almost here, Chief. We need to build some shelters for sleeping. People need to rest at night. Sleep is no less important than food. If people sleep on the ground, they don't get rested, and they may fall asleep during the day while working. By the way, we'd better place buildings next to the altar. This way it's easier to protect the settlement. Alright, so we need to collect logs and straw. So hitting X, I can go to the wood icon, and I'm going to collect the logs that are closest. So I just marked 10 of them, closest to where I'm going to be building the tents. And then for straw, I go to plants, filter to straw, and I only need 5 straw, so I'll collect 8. I mean, that's as little as I can. And have the villagers self-assign these tasks. So the straw is done, and the logs are done. Next up, building tents. So going to C, or the construction menu, tents. As the tutorial says, putting tents around your altar keeps them the most protected. Grouping houses together, because people are very vulnerable in this game. So making sure that they are grouped together will make them far easier to keep protected when things go crazy. And each tent is 1 straw, 1 wood, and they provide like the lowest quality resting apart from sleeping on the ground. Increase the construction priority. So I sped through the construction tasks, but if we want to increase the construction priority, you could hit Z, as in zebra. And this is manual mode, where you're selecting what is important. In auto mode, it kind of just does you whatever, but in this case, raising the construction priority, I can just drag it up, And then construction becomes the highest priority task over all other tasks, with some caveats, of course, because each individual settler has their own priority screen, which we'll get into later. Now survivors have a shelter to survive the night. I hope it will not be the last for us. By doing construction and gathering resources, we've awakened the forest creatures. This was unavoidable. There's going to be a battle tonight, and we must survive. So repel the attack of 3 enemies and collect 3 dark shards. So here's are the enemies. Anytime an enemy gets within a range of your people, the game will autopause. And these are timber fiends, like mushroom spirits, if you will, coming to attack, and our warriors can easily defend. So that was 2 of 3, just waiting on the 3rd to show. During battle, you can't speed time up past ×2, whereas outside of battle, you can go all the way up to like ×16. And here he is. Alright. After the battle, we can use the ability Prayer. Let me go hide myself so that you can actually read parts of these UI. So Prayer is an ability that a lot of warriors or archers have. It's not really a mage ability, and this allows the warrior to read a prayer for a short time, which will heal them, and also allow them to hit incorporeal or intangible beings. So if you want to hit ghosts or something like that, you also can activate prayer first, and then you'll be able to actually hit ghosts, which is pretty handy. All right. And then it wants me to wait for dawn, study the bestiary, and we'll do that. So the bestiary is here as an O. And you can see the different monsters that are in the woods here, and how many you've killed, etc., etc. So now it wants me to wait till morning. And the clock is up here in the top center. So you have like each day is set up into quarters, and the last quarter is the night quarter, where like typically villagers will sleep unless you're force working them, which we'll get into later. Up here you also have time, and you have seasons, the time controls, resetting to 1x, for instance. And there we go. Now it's nighttime. And we're just speeding through. And this is task 6 of 27 in the tutorial. The sun has risen. The beasts have retreated. Let's not waste time, Great Chief. We must strengthen our defenses before next attack. We must build warehouses, store resources closer to the settlement. Otherwise, the workers will have to continually go into the forest for them, which is very inconvenient and time-consuming. So it wants me to build warehouses. So I am going to lay out a simple warehouse. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Adjacent to the center altar. And warehouses cost 1 wood a piece to make, so I'm going to cut down some extra logs. And also turn on manual mode, so that I can say construction is more important than cutting down logs. So we had all the wood -1 to build the warehouse. And now it's done. Turn off resource storage for food. So basically, the game wants me to prevent food from being stored in this warehouse. So in order to do that, you either can double-click the thing, or click this icon here, and no food. Done. Smart decision, Chief. Correct placement and configuration of warehouses can save us a lot of time. And if the space in them runs out, you can always add a few more warehouses. We'll need stone blocks for the next building. You should build a workbench so that the settlers can produce them. So in the construction menu, you have a workbench. And what it wants me to do is to build the workbench in such a way that it actually attaches to the warehouse. So if a production building touches a warehouse with at least 1 cell, it binds to it. Such a building uses any resources in the warehouse without having to spend time for transportation. So as you can imagine, if you're trying to make something that has a lot of resources, let's say you're trying to build a wheelbarrow with 10 wood, having it attached to the warehouse obviously is going to save you a lot of trouble. Otherwise, you're going to have to haul 10 wood one at a time. There we go. There's the workbench. And for this, I probably need to get some stone. So I'm also going to queue up mining stone for it as well. So there's the workbench. You double click it, or again, just like before, hit this icon here, which I know I'm slightly in the way of. Here, let me nudge myself over. I should be blocking a lot less of the screen this way. And it wants me to produce stone blocks. So there's two different ways to do it. You can order blocks up front, like this, or you can set to maintain a minimum. Do until you have X. Initially for this tutorial, I'm just going to make 2, because that's all it's calling for. And there's one of them. And the second one. Now you have stone blocks to build one of the most important buildings, and this is the Sage's Workshop. In it, you can research new technologies and recipes. The library will help the settlement become more developed and noticeable to other survivors. Now they can join us. So build a Sage's Workshop. It's a big honker of a building. It doesn't really rely upon warehouse access, so you don't really need it to be close to a warehouse. And I'm just going to plop it here. For this, it's also going to require 2 copper, which, as you can see in the left screen here of my supplies, I do not have. So in order to do this, we're going to have to mine some copper. There we go. 20 copper ore queued up. Cheers. If you have any questions, because I know I'm blitzing through the tutorial here so we can get into the real gameplay, just let me know. So accept a wanderer into the settlement is the next task. So now that we have a Sage's Workshop, it makes our village a little bit more attractive and will lure in new villagers who will then muster to your town square. And Krasa here is 25 years old and not hungry. Basically, it costs less to feed her. Sounds good to me. The woman we accepted told us that she had been wandering through the forest with her husband for several weeks. They got soaked wet in rain and they had no food left. Her husband lost his strength and fainted not far from the settlement. She begs us to help find him and bring him here. So, we are going to send our 2 squad members out to save the wounded wanderer. And he is right here where this like medicine icon is. And I'm sending my 2 militiamen out to go help. Once you get there, here he is laying on the ground. And there is multiple ways to help them up. Basically, we need to feed him in this case. Either berries, meat, mushrooms, or vegetables. I don't have anything but berries, so here we go. Berries it is. Wounded wanderers are shown with icons on the screen. Guide a warrior there and click on the icon to make the decision. Now it wants me to turn on rest mode. So rest mode, there's 3 different modes for your colonists. Work mode is basically work until you have to sleep and then sleep. There's work until you're exhausted. You know, if you have some sort of emergency, like you need to repair your walls or build a defensive tower right before a big attack, that's when you would use that. And then there's rest mode. Basically, it's like pure recreation mode. And as a result, if your colonists are happy, they can boost other things. So in this case, we have boosted spirit, which is like a research resource, which is up here, the settlement's spirit. And it wants me to cancel rest mode. There we go. Now that there are more residents, there will be more concerns. Properly organized work priorities need to be set wisely. More urgent tasks will always be performed by settlers before less urgent ones. I think we should make a campfire. Although not all evil creatures fear fire, but only the night ghost's light and warmth raises the spirits of the inhabitants. So your inhabitants will also be happier around fire. And then during the winter, of course, they're going to be cold without it. So it wants me to enable firewood preparation. So basically maintain a stock of 10 firewood. And you can modify how much you're making at once. Shift is 5, control is 10. So there is our 10 stock of firewood. Select the trees to be collected for logs. And I do find it wisest to cut down the trees that are like going to block your growth when expanding. Put the carpentry profession in the first place. So here we go. Carpentry in first. And then obtaining resources in second place. So in terms of order, we have one of our 7 residents, and you can see the numbers here. 1 is working as a carpenter, and 6 is working on obtaining resources. And then it wants me to build a campfire, which I will put right here. So as you can see, I laid out my tents so that they all fall easily within the campfire's sphere of influence. So that way, when people are sleeping, they are protected by the campfire's light. Because some of the enemies are afraid of campfire light. So it can be really handy to have campfires cover the homes so that they can't be attacked or abducted while sleeping. Because, I don't know about you guys, but I don't really like to get attacked or abducted while I go sleeping. It's pretty disturbing to me. Unfortunately, it just started raining, which is going to make it hard to keep the campfire lit, but whatever. Tutorial be damned. And there we go. The settlers are full of spirit. It's time to think about the army. To train the settlement in combat skills, you need a barracks. Remember, our warriors discovered copper. You will need to send workers to mine it. You will need coal for smelting. You can get it from logs or find deposits in the forest. So, get 3 stone blocks. So here we go. Stone block. 1, 2, 3. Ordered. Get 2 metal rods. 2 metal rods. Ordered. And metal rods cost coal, so we're going to have to find some coal. And then get straw. And I only need 1 more straw. So there's 4 straw. That's the 1 bush is 4 straw. So coal. There's some coal right here. Perfect. So let's mine this coal up. Done. And as a result of all that, we will be able to build a barracks, which allows you to train and retrain your warriors. So we've already gotten the straw and the stone blocks and the logs, and now we just need to grab the coal and combine the coal and the copper into the metal rods, which we've already produced. Perfect. So next up, build a barracks. And just like the Sage's Workshop, the barracks doesn't really rely upon warehouse access, so it doesn't need to be a new warehouse. I'll put it down here. And according to the game, I don't have enough straw for this, so let's go ahead and get some extra straw. If you're wondering why I am severely limiting the amount of resources that I obtain, rather than getting the entire field of straw, it is because the more resources you gather, the angrier the forest gets. So being really greedy and like cutting down a whole lot of trees, even if you don't need the logs, is a really, really, really bad idea. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. Do not resource exploit more than you need, especially early game, or you will die. This game, even on normal difficulty, is really unforgiving. And one way to make it really hard for yourself is to do a lot of resource exploitation early on, driving up the difficulty and leading you to absolute ruin. Do not get more resources than you need. I'm telling you. Unless you know what you're doing and you want to make the game harder, because there is reason to do that at times, you will absolutely melt yourself if you do that. All right, so train a swordsman. Double click on the barracks. So right now we have 2 swordsmen, Dalibor and Rhadamant, and it wants me to train 1 more. Every colonist that you have has certain stats. So, for instance, Boris here is lost. He's got lower defense, lower health, and lower warmth. He would not be a good swordsman. Someone that is, let's say, massive, might be a good tank, because he gets a lot of extra health, but he doesn't do a lot of damage. Someone like Vasily here has extra defense, cooldown, energy, and warmth, so maybe he'd be the best swordsman? I'm gonna go with Vasily. Or actually, Krasa, the new girl. You get to be our swordsman. Hit train, and it's warning you that training is irreversible. Basically, once they become part of the military, they never can become a regular citizen again, but they can retrain and change classes. Done. The blood moon is approaching. Villamir's forces will be especially dangerous at night. We must prepare properly. Right now, settlers can only learn the art of wielding a sword, but the settlement will also need archers. We need to check the sage's workshop. There should be information there to help us. I feel like I'm constantly tinkering with the volume. So, buy a defensive point, research archer, and train 2 archers. So, if you hit B, which is for technologies, and we go over to the... So, there's 2 different technologies here. There is settlement technologies, which are earned by spirit points, like farming, fertility, taverns, etc. And this is a very limited tutorial-only research tree. There's a lot more choices later on. And then here is the battle technology, which costs dark shards. Dark shards are earned by killing creatures. So we are going to hit get. So we spent the dark shards that we had to buy a research point and research archer. And then go back to the barracks and figure out who is going to be good at archery. So Dragoslava here has a crit chance. That'd be pretty good for archery, because archers shouldn't tank, so the health malice is not much of an issue. Sure. And then Vasily here has a cooldown bonus. That's also probably good for archery as well. Done. And now they train. Okay. Now all we can do is wait for the blood moon to come. I can see a barely noticeable red trail leading to the forest. This thing here. That's how Velamir's warlocks show their troops where to attack. But we can benefit from this as well. We know where to expect an attack from them. We need to prepare for battle. Alright, so in this case, what I want to do is put all of my troops into Battle Group 1. Put my warriors into 2, and my... Warriors into 2, and archers into 3. So I can control all of them at once, or just the warriors, or just the archers. And warriors and archers all have the prayer ability. So if I'm up against spirits, prayer is going to help me. Alright, so now is the blood moon. As you can see in the top right screen, there are multiple blood moons. Essentially the way the game works, outside of the tutorial, is you have a certain amount of blood moons until it escalates to essentially what is a boss fight. And winning that boss fight beats the scenario. So it is not an open-ended sandbox. In other words. Oh my god, really? Okay. And we are... The blood moon is like kind of a low-key wave survival mode. But it's also a really good way to farm up dark shards to get more military technology. Alright, come on, blood mooners. Fight. And in terms of controls, hitting R for an attack move is like definitely the right play. Oh yeah, here we go. So we've got some revenants here coming in. And as you can see, they drop dark shards when they die. And farming up those dark shards is very important for tech progress. So we have 4 dark shards, for instance. And I'm going to use the prayer ability for the tanks so that they are topped up on health. And now we have warlocks and revenants, and the warlocks here are... They've got this skull indicating that they're like elite units. They're a little bit stronger. So for instance, Krasa here is getting nuked by a warlock, so I pulled her back so she could heal. And there we go. They're attacking from all flanks. We don't have enough warriors to protect the entire settlement. We don't have any choice. We must use the Spirit Charm spell. So find the Spirit Guardian technology in the Sage's Library, which is here. So researched and activate the Spirit Charm. So a Spirit Charm is an ability that your altar, which is the core of your settlement, can activate. And it has an activation cost and an upkeep cost. And it is a giant like shield dome, which will repel the evil forces, but cost you spirit constantly to maintain. The spirit technology, or this spirit guardian, is really handy when you're getting swarmed from all sides and you don't have like proper palisades around your entire village, because your villagers are not hardy. They absolutely die if overwhelmed. And then what ends up happening if enemies bump into that is they bump into it and take damage and get like repelled, like a big knockback. But every time they hit the shield, it also takes some more spirit. So using it as a main way to repel enemy forces is a really bad idea, because your spirit level is also essentially how you research technologies. So you're essentially burning your research to guard yourself. So it's best used, you know, in emergencies. We've repelled the enemy attack. I think we've gained some time, but we better use it wisely. Let's get a carpentry workshop. So the carpenter workshop is more or less like an improved workbench here. And I am going to attach it to the warehouse that we've got so far. Actually, let me turn this around so it's facing the town. There we go. And this is going to need 2 more stone. And also I see that there's another wave of forces coming in, so I'm going to get ready to repel those forces as well. Now, one thing you might be able to notice is the archers are doing like so much more damage than the warriors. Warriors are not generally ideal for DPS. So I managed to keep them all alive by micromanaging. And that was the last wave of the blood moon. So the next blood moon will be 2 days from now. And it also tells you like roughly what to expect, how many enemies are remaining, and how difficult the fights will be when they portal in and attack you. And Zach, thank you for the resub. And Dave too, if I missed that. Cheers. Alright, so here's the carpenter's workshop, and it has a larger list of things that it can make than, of course, the workbench. And in this case, what we want is construction materials. So I'm going to order 16 of them, which is kind of like a generic building material. You can think of it that way. And what this allows you to do is repair buildings. So now we can go to each of the broken buildings and hit the repair button using construction material to bring it up to full health. Oh, once I have a little bit more construction material, because apparently we ran out. So the 2 repairs here cost 12 apiece, and this one costs like 4. So it depends on how damaged it is and how big of an object it is. But essentially, you can think of it as like materials to patch. But also, you can you build your defenses with the construction materials, so it's something that is worth stockpiling up. Chief, what is the sensation? The winds have changed. We've cut too many trees in the forest trying to fix the settlement. Now we're open to attack by forest creatures. We must find the nearest monster lair and destroy it. Let's deploy our warriors in the direction of the last attack came to prevent another one. So if you exploit resources, as I was saying before, too much, you end up angering the forest, and the forest attacks you. So I need to go over here and destroy a enemy lair. The TLDR of enemy lairs is once you have an avenging lair, you should probably clear one. But if you clear them preemptively, it will only piss off more lairs. So if you're trying to avoid conflict, only destroy the avenging lairs. But if you're trying to incite conflict, destroy all the lairs that you want. What I will say is, really early game, even to middle game, you want to be very conflict avoidant because your troops just aren't very strong. But then late game, when you have a lot of tech unlocked and your troops are trained up and elite and all that, then you can probably start picking fights. So if you click on this layer here, it says there's 2 more monsters left. It's only a 1-tier layer. So here's the last 2 enemies. Really not much of a problem. And then once we are done with that, we can actually destroy the lair itself. And the lair will give more dark shards. We managed to prevent the attack. If it weren't for our determination, an entire army would have descended on the settlement tonight. The more we develop the settlement and gather resources, the stronger and more dangerous the enemies become. There's an ancient idol dedicated to Perun in the Lair's vicinity. This place has great power, and the right offering can grant a warrior the god's blessing. However, a mistake will lead to terrible punishment. The desire of the gods are fickle, and it's impossible for a mere mortal to predict them. But the reward is great. We must take the risk. So there's an idol of Perun over here. While wandering through the forest, you discover a strange pillar vibrating with energy. According to legends, the spirits dwell in this place bestow their power upon warriors while crippling others. So here are the warriors nearby. And I can try to offer something to the Lord of Lightning. And I'm going to offer coal. Perrin blessed him. In my opinion, it was a small price to pay for a great boost in combat skill and vitality. But if you start worshipping another god, the previous blessing will be lifted. After all, gods are very jealous. You can develop the settlement further by constructing more buildings that improve your people's lives. First of all, you will need a farm. It will allow you to grow vegetables in the fields. You will need to collect seeds from forest turnips. They're quite aggressive, but our army can handle them. Alright, so here's the god's blessing. Grants warriors the strength, speed, and endurance needed for a fierce battle. So if you take a look at it like each individual person, they are... They have, I actually forget where you see the boosts, but yeah, they're boosted as a result. Alright. So in order to get farming going, we open up the research tree and get a research point using our settlement spirit and unlock farming. And then we need to go over here and kill the forest turnips. So basically, seeds for farming need to be collected from like forest monsters. Which is a little twisted, but it's just the way it is. These forest monsters are pretty weak. But, like, we're also 5 people, so we have a rather large army to kill these things. And they're done. And let's go ahead and build the farm now, too. So open up the construction tab, go to farming. And I'll stick the farm here. So the farm needs 2 more stone blocks and 4 boards. So we go to the carpenter's workshop, order 4 boards, and I don't have enough logs for that, so I'll have to cut down some trees. And then we'll go to the workbench and order the stone blocks. As far as the logs go, let's cut these trees. I know it's a lot of trees, but they're kind of in the way. Additionally, someone who is frail wants to join. Sorry, no. Don't want anyone frail. On top of it, no one is doing the stone crafting right now, so I'm going to raise the stone crafting above obtaining resources so that the workbench is a higher priority, and therefore someone is actually going to be making the stone blocks. And this is part 19 out of 27 of the tutorial. We are getting through this pretty quick. Once I start a new game, I'll be like more carefully explaining every step of trying to survive in this game. I'm just, for now, this tutorial, I'm blitzing through. The farm is also going to need 2 metal pipes, so I'm queuing up the resources for that. And it does look like, as a result of the resource exploitation we've done, I'm almost out of coal, so I'm going to send someone over to get some coal as well. Alright, now we can grow our first crop. Food can be obtained by picking mushrooms and berries or hunting, but farming is more reliable. In addition, it does not require your people to leave the settlement to go to the dangerous forest. So sow a field of at least 15 seed beds and then fertilize it. So we click this for sow a new field. I'm going to select turnip seeds. I often find that like sometimes it defaults wrong, so you have to like reselect it, and it wants a bed of 15. So let's go ahead and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Done. So Game's really flexible how you lay out your seed beds. And then, if we really want it done sooner, farming. Hey, it's the highest priority. Look at that. Sown, and now fertilized. There is a spell that allows crops to ripen almost instantly, but the settlement is still not developed enough for such magic. Let's change that. So upgrade the Sage's Workshop to Tier 2. So click in this year's workshop, hit this upgrade arrow, and that will increase the abilities we have for the for research in order to get fertility. And in order to build this, we need 2 pipes, 4 boards. So let's queue up the 2 pipes, 4 boards again. And seems like I got coal just in time because I was just about out. This project is almost certainly going to have to be done tomorrow because it's almost nighttime and the villagers will go to sleep unless I force exhaust them, which honestly don't do. It's really bad for spirit. Thank you for tuning in to Night is Coming, which originally streamed live on Twitch. If you have any feedback or questions for me, let me know in the comments below. If you'd like to catch a live stream of mine, Rhadamant.com has my stream schedule and countdown timers to upcoming streams. If you would like to join my online gaming community on Discord, Rhadamant.com has a link to it, as does the description of this video. Thank you so very much for watching. Special thank you to my Twitch subscribers, Patreon patrons, and viewers like you that support the channel and made it all the way to the credits. Thank you so very much. I hope to catch you next episode on our upcoming stream. Farewell, my fellow villagers.